back like an MPJ nightmare. Happy holidays, y'all. Hope everybody loving the start to this festive season. I know I am, because we got ourselves a brand new Monsterverse spinoff. Monarch, Legacy of Monsters. And I ain't gonna hold you, I'm having a great time watching this show so far. We only on what, I believe episode 4? But even up until this point, not only are they crazy with the monsters, that's the whole reason I'm doing this, you know. I like the monster design, I like the inspirations they draw from actual nature, but hold all that for a second, right? I'm gonna completely be skipping through the characters and storyline. If you want to check that out, actually go watch the real show or watch a recap about that. That's not this. What I will say is the actual story is very well thought out and put together so far. I don't know how it's gonna end up, but at least to this point, to the end of episode 4, it's been really good. The story writers have been incorporating a lot of Japanese culture, so it feels authentic, you know what I mean? I highly recommend you go watch an episode if you haven't. Don't just go check out the recap. And in fact, I might even recommend you watch an episode more than once, because there are Easter eggs and little nuances you might miss the first time around. It definitely got that replay value. But right now, we're gonna dive into the monsters. I just do want to give you the heads up. Stick to the end of this video because the monster designs so far have just been getting increasingly more entertaining and more detailed. I've really enjoyed watching the progression. I'm excited to see what other creature designs they end up showing us. And for all you viewers out here watching my video right now, first of all, thank you. Y'all could be doing anything with your time, but you're choosing to stay here and get nerdy with me, and I really appreciate that, you know. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. Enough of all of that, let's just jump into episode 1. And the first creature we come across might be familiar to some of y'all. Drum roll, please. The giant spider. If you recall, in Kong Skull Island, this was one of the first undiscovered species that we came across. The legs was cut down by the soldiers, and I think his body was shot up as well. And in my personal opinion, I feel like the creators drew a lot of inspiration from the Cellar spider, which y'all might know as the Daddy Longlegs. I believe this because its legs are obviously much larger than the rest of his body, and the way it walks is also very similar, if not the exact same, to how Daddy Longlegs walk as well. They have an alternating tetrapod gait, and what that means is that first they move the right leg, then they move the second left leg, then the third right leg, etc, etc, etc. One thing I do want to mention is that the creature here is obviously running around and doesn't really look like a typical web spider. And while Cellar spiders / Daddy Longlegs do make their own webs, certain species actually choose to walk over and invade the webs of other spiders to eat both their captured prey as well as the actual spider they're invading as well. So they will run up on you and take all your food supplies and then just eat you. What they do is they vibrate the web they're invading to mimic trap prey to lure the other spider closer. And once the other spider gets close enough, the Cellar spider casts silk bands onto its prey to incapacitate it. There is a myth as well that you might be familiar with, and that is that these spiders are extremely venomous, but their fangs are too small to puncture human skin. That's not true. These spiders are in fact capable of biting humans. Human bites have been recorded, but their venom isn't medically significant. I don't know about y'all, but I remember when I was a kid, I used to pick up Daddy Longlegs all the time, like just on my hand, and just let them crawl around. And that might freak some y'all out, but nah, I'm not scared of no animals except for skunks. I don't like skunks, but outside of skunks, I'm kicking it with any animal. Especially as a kid. As a kid, I wasn't even worried what the ladies would think. The next creature we come across in this episode is a giant crab. Once again, I believe that we've seen this one before. I believe we saw it in the animated Netflix Skull Island series, where those two kids was on the beach and they came across those crabs that were hiding under the sand. I believe it's the same crab. Obviously there are differences. For example, the one in the animated show was much smaller than the one we've seen here, but that could be explained. It could be a juvenile version, they could be subspecies, whatever the case may be. Crabs are crustaceans, and this is reflected via the shell exoskeleton. It's basically the armor plating that the animal has on the outside of its body to protect itself. The crab also has a pair of claws, and fun fact, just watching this little fight scene go down, it got me curious. Do any crabs actually eat spiders, or do any spiders actually eat crabs? Like, I understand one is usually found above water, one is usually found underwater, but there could be room for overlap, right? So I got to Googling. Surprisingly, the answer is true. There are these little creatures called sea spiders. Now I get it, it's not the actual spider that we were talking about, but I'm gonna take a win when I take a win. Yeah, these crabs eat sea spiders. Obviously, the one that we seen in the show here was much more territorial than predatory behavior. The spider ran up on the crab, so the crab got up. Self-defense, whatever you want to call it. It wasn't really hunting to eat, but in real life, crabs hunt and eat sea spiders. Also, I did a little talkie talk on this old animated crab already, so if you want to check that out, I will post a link at the end of this video. If you want to learn something about crabs that you probably didn't know, like for example, how big do crabs really get? If you don't know the answer to that, go watch my video and check it out, huh? But yo, we're not done. There is a third monster that I want to talk about, and this is those eggs that they found at the abandoned power plant, right? The eggs were laid out, there were more than 20, and they were glowing. Something's crazy, but power plant, glowing, kind of get the idea. They're radioactive. Those eggs ended up hatching into giant insect type creatures, and I found them very similar to cockroaches. I'm sure there was a lot of inspiration taken from a real life cockroaches, because cockroaches are crazy. Cockroaches can survive a nuclear explosion, are known to survive without their head. They can hold their breath for over half an hour. Cockroaches can lay up to 40 eggs at a time, and they're social insects who communicate via pheromones. They're omnivorous and can feed on a wide variety of food sources, including plant matter, animal matter, and everything in between. In the show, the creatures that hatched out of the egg, they literally immediately woke up and were hungry, or at least had the urge to attack, right? And that's similar to some sharks, because some sharks will attack their unborn siblings in the womb and just eat them up. It's just extra nutrients for them to grow into that strongest version. Towards the end of episode 2, we come across a brand new titan. They call it a giant dragon in the show, but I believe it's probably more similar, or at least draws inspiration from real life bats. You might remember bats from COVID, right? Yes, those bats. I believe so because the anatomy is very similar to how bats look. Large wingspan, a short face, claws, short hind legs, and it can fly. This titan was found in an abandoned ship covered in goo, and this goo could be guano. Guano is basically bat poop. It's not basically, guano is bat poop. There is a lot of bat poop where bats live. That's true for caves. That's true for your attic if you got bats. Bats equal lots of bat poop, and this substance could be guano. Furthermore, this event occurred during the day. So if my theory is correct, the titan was likely resting inside of the ship, as bats do during diurnal hours, when the human activity woke it up. That's why you saw it during the day. Otherwise, I believe that this is a nocturnal creature. One caveat that I do want to highlight is that this titan did screech, which bats don't do. They squeak. But there is a night creature that does, and it's not something crazy, it's just a barn owl. but barn owls make some terrifying noises. I'm gonna combine episodes 3 and 4 together because the same Titan was featured in both, and I'm not complaining because, personal opinion, this is by far my favorite Titan design we've come across in the show. I'm actually gonna refer to an excerpt by VFX supervisor Sean Conrad, where he described the monster as a cross between a giant star-nosed mole and a pangolin. And I believe they did a great job of incorporating elements from both these creatures together into one mythical monster. A mythical monster that, by the way, also has ice breath, or the ability to freeze its surroundings by taking a large inhalation of breath. Really cool. Obviously there's no animals in real life that do this, but hey, give it a superpower. I ain't complaining. But a little bit of context, right? Back to the Titan. So they found it in Alaska and it emerged from under the snow. This is similar to burrowing, and moles burrow. They're typically found underground. So you might be wondering, how does a mole see underground, right? Look at the Titan again. Look at the Titan. You see that the crazy tentacle thing that's going on in his face? Check this out. That's not CGI. That's not no fake monster. That's a real life animal. That's the star-nosed mole. And yes, it has the very similar type appendage on his face, right? So what's going on? Well, in reality, that appendage, which we'll refer to as a tentacled snout, contains Eimer's organ. Apologies if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. Eimer or Eimer's organ is a sensory organ which helps moles detect vibrations underground. See, the mole itself is functionally blind. It can't see. Even if you take it up and put it in the daylight, it's still not going to have great vision. It's not going to see what's going on. It's going to be completely vulnerable because these are the conditions it evolved with underground. So, to compensate, it relies heavily on Eimer's organ. Basically, by detecting these vibrations underground, it's able to have an idea of where it's going and contextualize the distance between itself, predators, prey, objects, whatever the case may be. The Titan we see has a coating of armor across its body, and this was likely inspired by the armor plating found on pangolins. A few other facets that I noticed about the creature was it seemed attracted to heat sources, and those tentacles on its face also glue luminescent in the night. Bioluminescence is a whole different topic. I'm not going to touch on it right now. In fact, I gotta go dip out of here. I hope y'all liked this video. This was super impromptu. This wasn't even on schedule, but honestly, I just really enjoy watching Monarch. Looking forward to episode 5 and everything else that comes along. Hopefully this is a decent amount of episodes that they pack into this season 1. I did say season 1. I don't know if season 2 confirmed. I hope it gets confirmed soon. But yeah, alright, y'all have a good time. Catch y'all later. From the bottom of my heart, I say goodbye.